Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
But tell me, Eddie, is that a rabbit in your pocket or you're just happy to see me?
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Let's tweet out that we are officially live now. So welcome. Completely got thrown off that there were 5 Wednesdays this month. So I was kind of like walking around thinking it was the first Wednesday in December. That's how crazy it's been. But this is the last Wednesday of November, and it is the top 10 for the month. And we are doing top 10 films from 1981. So just 1 year. So it's not 80s or anything like that. It's just 1 year, 1981, which is a bit more difficult. Narrowing it down for this year's in 1980, but got my own personal top 10 down. There would be a few, let me look back on the other list, a few honorable mentions, if I were to go into those, but have my 10 narrowed down.
Yeah, I have some honorable mentions too. Usually what I do is I go through all the movies and just write down the ones that might be relevant, and then I add them to the list. So I'll just have a list for the list, basically.
Yep. So, but like I said, I narrowed it down, and for those who would be new to watching these are our own personal top 10. That does not mean the films themselves are great or even necessarily good. Pretty much, there's our own personal subjective list for whatever reason, whether it's nostalgia, guilty pleasure, just having overall fun, what have you. Doesn't necessarily mean the films themselves are necessarily great. Pretty much,
yeah, or just movies you just keep rewatching.
Yeah, or if they're on, like you will sit down and watch them. Pretty much.
Yeah.
So before I say hello to the chat, Stieg, I guess let everybody know where they can find you and all that fun stuff.
On this channel twice per month, and sometimes on Tommy's channel, and sometimes on Teresa's channel. I was on with Teresa last night talking about Harry Potter 1, the movie. So that was kind of fun. And,
I have my own personal feelings about that IP, but I'm not going to go into that.
Oh, that's fine.
So I'm not a fan. There's nothing to do with like that. I'm not. There's nothing to do with like I'm a fan of the books, therefore I'm not a fan of the movies. No, I'm just the IP in general. I'm not a fan of. So.
I'm kind of I'm a normie, so but I'd give the franchise, the movie franchise, a 7 total, 7 out of 10.
So, have you seen all the movies?
Yes, but I've only seen the first 3.
Voldemort is the dumbest villain ever.
Yeah. Well, now it's Vader, but
no, I'm saying in terms of this. Not only did this Voldemort not like take him 6-7 years to just take over a school, but you're telling me that he has his mortal enemy dead to rights, or he thinks he's like Harry Potter is dead, and he's going to trust anybody else to make sure.
Yeah.
You're telling me he's going to trust someone else to make sure that his mortal enemy is dead and not do it himself.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Technically, he could have just screwed up a guy's mind, like a pimp or something, and have him go to Harry Potter's home and shoot him during the summer holiday.
Yeah. I'm just saying it makes absolutely no sense for like Voldemort to act like that, and then Harry Potter won purely based on luck.
Well, I think he has to kill him himself, though, because Harry Potter is a Horcrux.
So, which I thought was stupid.
Yeah. I don't.
It takes away the hero's journey. It takes away the hero's journey.
Yeah, I guess so. You'll have to talk to Teresa about it. She's the expert.
What?
You have to talk to Teresa about it.
I'm just saying it makes absolutely it takes away from the hero's journey, I think, but to do that and then just dumbs down Voldemort.
Yeah.
That's all my own personal opinion. Anyway, so we're not talking about Harry Potter. We're talking about actually movies that we love from 1981. So yes, so this is my main channel. Obviously, you're watching here. Tomorrow I should be live in the evening. Most like back on my kick, trying to get to 300 followers by the end of the year. Friday I'm planning on seeing Silent Night in the afternoon, so no solo stream. But I'll try to go live in the evening. And then Saturday, most likely no streams at all, because I'll be seeing Godzilla -1 with my siblings at like a 3-something showing now. So I know Harry Potter's not from 1981, but those are my own personal thoughts on that IP. So from the top, I see Trey is ready for a lit discussion. Yeah, I'm not surprised that a lot of horror is on your list, Trey. Really not surprised. Gravy, I know you said you didn't have a list, but I know down below you said you were able to come up with one.
If you forgot it, you have to remove a finger for failing.
Yeah. Orange Hats, leaving a like and support for you both. Got a family visiting. Yeah, Orange Hat, no worries. Catch the replay whenever you have a chance. Gaming or what? Good to see you. Thank you for being a member for 10 months. Thank you so much with the emoji. Thank you so much. Terra Crystal, I have to let you know that seven of your movies are actually on my list. Which ones? We'll see. But 7. I was counting the movies and 7. January, I think, has 5 Wednesdays. That's gonna make it interesting. Let's see. Yeah, this is my live channel. Normally, I'm there. Like I said, solo streams on Friday, but like I said, I want to see, because the plan is to do a double feature discussion on Talk Nerdy on Sunday evening, talking about Silent Night and Godzilla -1 on Talk Nerdy. So, yes, there's some Gremlins things on my throne. If there's anything outside of what I normally talk about that I absolutely love, it's Gremlins. I don't know, the first one in particular. I don't know why. I just love that movie. I've always gravitated to more dark comedies, darker versions. I do enjoy, for the most part, the sequel, and we'll be talking about that for the 1s and 2s in December. But for the most parts, I prefer the darker tone of the first movie. So yes, I do love Gremlins. Talking about movies during the year I was born. Yeah, these are our own personal top 10, Mike Hill. So it doesn't necessarily mean that they're the best, just that our own personal top 10s. It's big for horror, Halloween and Friday the 13th. So big inspired lots of imitations. How the 80s, like in particular, spawned two elements of filmmaking, pretty much. The slasher genre, like, it really took off in the 80s. Yes, technically the slasher movies dates back to Black Christmas, but it didn't really take off as a genre until Friday the 13th and beyond in the 1980s, as well as it spawned the concept of franchises.
Also, high school comedies, I think.
Oh yeah, I'm saying, like, in terms of
really
in terms of the horror genre, franchising the horror genre and the slashers.
Yeah, and,
inspired. Like, it really took off in the 80s, and we have the 80s to thank for the franchise concept in Hollywood, or mentality in Hollywood.
Yeah. And probably action figures based on movies too, which was started by Star Wars, but it took off in the 80s.
And Hasbro, I believe, had a chance to manufacture Star Wars toys, but they turned it down.
Yeah.
And it like that was a royal screw up. Probably just won't see Godzilla until Saturday now. Yeah. That's the plan, at least for my siblings and me. Ms. Martin Muses, hello, good to see you. Yes, Terra Crystal, somebody did. I don't know who did. It said anonymous, so I don't know whom to thank. But yes, the sweater dress was purchased on my throne. My Bloody Valentine was also this year. Yes, did not make my list because, hot take, I actually prefer the sequel. And not the sequel, the remake. To the original. The original was okay, but I think the remake is a bit better. Oh yeah. So Yeah, the horror model. So basically, within the horror genre itself, you have the rise of the slasher genre and franchises beginning in the 80s. So
Yeah.
I'm avoiding. So I trust you, Michael, but I'm avoiding anybody talking about it right now because I don't want anything spoiled. But from what I'm hearing, like from what you're saying and what I'm kind of catching wind of, it's like supposed to be really good. Hey, Soul. Yeah, 81 is a big. Started to be a big year because we were past the cusp of the 70s to 80s, and the start of an interesting decade of films.
83 and 84 is going to be brutal, and then 86, I think, but 87 is nuts.
Yeah, pretty much. So, as we tend to do, Stieg rolls a d20 because we play D&D, so he rolls a d20 to see which one of us starts.
Okay, do you want 1 to 10 or 11 to 20?
I'll do 1 to 10.
3.
All right. Okay.
I've never won any of these fucking throws.
Oh, so that your die hates me only when like monsters are concerned in D&D.
Here's something fucked up though, because with the D&D game we're playing now, you were requesting cryptids and monsters for the game, and I was thinking, they only attack you.
They don't exactly only attack me, but I tend to sustain the most damage.
Yeah, so it's like you're at the shit end of the dice every time there's a monster involved in any game, and then you request more, and then you blame me.
So, no, I blame your die. I don't blame your dice. I don't blame you. So your dice hates me. So, but like every so often, yes, I'm fine with it. Just as long as you add some nice, quiet demon possessions or drug addicts in the mix.
Yeah.
So we're not just dealing with monsters. But anyway, okay. So my number 10 is a comedy from 1981. If you haven't seen it, me personally, I wouldn't say I exactly highly recommend it, but like you have to watch it if you have not seen it, and that is the Cannonball Run with Burt Reynolds. It's basically like almost an all-star cast, pretty much.
Jackie Chan's first Hollywood movie. Too.
Yeah, Jackie Chan's first Hollywood film. So you have Burt Reynolds, Roger Moore, Farrah Fawcett, Dom DeLuise, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., Adrienne Barbeau. Here they are: Adrienne Barbeau, Jamie Farr, Terry Bradshaw is also in it, and so forth. And Jackie Chan's first American film. And pretty much the premise is pretty simple. It's pretty simple. All right. So all you have to do basically they start in Connecticut, and it's just a cross-country race to see who wins. I'm not going to go into who wins and everything, but Adrienne Barbeau is part of. They're split into teams, two pairs, and the point is to get from Connecticut to the end. All right, across the states. Yes, Adrienne Barbeau was everywhere back then. Yeah.
Trey has never watched it. Seriously, man, get it watched. You're gonna love it.
It is. Burt Reynolds plays a character named J.J. McClure. He's basically a racing driver, and his mechanic is his partner. So basically, they outfit an ambulance. All right, an ambulance with a NASCAR engine as their vehicle of choice to make their way across. So basically, the mentality of some of these racers are caught, because they're racing and they don't want to risk getting pulled over by cops and getting delayed. So what these racers would do is come up with concepts to avoid getting pulled over, or if they are pulled over, get let off with a warning for whatever reason, pretty much. So basically, Burt Reynolds and Dom DeLuise plays this mechanic. They're driving in an ambulance, so if they're speeding and they're pulled over, they can say, "Hey, we're taking so and so to wherever, probably whatever hospital." Pretty much, they can do that. Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr. dress as Catholic priests. All right. Adrienne Barbeau and her teammates pretty much try to use their sexuality to get out of speeding tickets, pretty much. All right. So it's.
And Roger Moore plays someone who thinks he's James Bond.
Yeah.
Kind of.
So it's basically that type of film, where it's like the premise is simple, but it's I think like one of the funniest movies I've seen. And it's from 1981. Basically, you have let's see, I was like right, I was like I'm looking at like a little bit of the information, but there was I know one point where it's two of the racers, like one pair disguise themselves as a newlywed couple and they're on a motorcycle, but one of them is so heavy that like for like the entire race pretty much they're like driving like doing wheelies across the country because they can't get the front wheel down because the person's so heavy in the back.
I'm pretty sure a rat race was heavily inspired by this movie.
No, Rat Race was heavily inspired by the original It's a Mad, 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 Mad World.
Oh.
Have you seen that movie?
No.
Rat Race is a remake of It's a Mad, 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 Mad World.
I did not know that. Should I add it to my list, perhaps?
Yes, you should add it to your list.
Okay. It's a mad.
Trey's seen that. Well, Rat Race or It's a Mad, 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 Mad World? Because Gravy's seen it.
I haven't even heard of it.
You've never heard of It's a Mad, 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 Mad World?
No, I don't think so.
I'm like, but yes, Rat Race was not inspired by Cannonball Run. It was a remake of It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, which starred Mickey Rooney, Buddy Hackett, and basically like a bunch of like famous stars from the that were like big in like the 30s, 40s, 50s, pretty much, and then cameos like sprinkled in here and there to like basically to include Buster Keaton and so forth. Like see Terror Crystal, so good. It is so good. Biggest was Spencer Tracy. Like if Spencer Tracy is in it, yeah. So, like, yeah, if you've not seen it, get that watched. Hey, Megatron. So yeah, Cannonball Run is my number 10. So again, if you have not seen that, highly recommend it. Right?
Okay. Well, my number 10 is a cop thriller, I guess, called Nighthawks, starring Sylvester Stallone, Billy D. Williams, and Rutger Hauer. Stallone and Billy D. are tracking a terrorist played by Rutger Hauer. So it's kind of like a manhunt-ish movie. They're trying to find him while he's also trying to do some terrorism. And I think it's in San Francisco. I can't remember. Howard's great in it. Billy D is great. Stallone is okay. He doesn't really play his normal roles, in this. It's he's way more toned back. But not a masterpiece or anything like that. It's just I watched it a lot of times because a friend of mine had it on VHS when we were kids. So I just kept watching it, and it's I wouldn't say it's better than a 7 out of 10, but it's still definitely something to watch, and I don't think you'll have a bad time of it.
Trey gives it an 8.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, I actually have not seen that. So I've heard of it, but I've not seen it.
Yeah, great cast. It's actually very well written. But I'm not going to sit there and say it's a classic. It's not, But I've never heard anyone say they hate it either.
So, all right. So, but Like I said, I haven't heard of it. I mean, I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's if you don't have anything to do one evening, you could do worse than watch that one.
so all right. I mean, probably between Christmas and New Year's when things can like start winding down.
Yeah, Trey says Rutger was a good villain. You know, in my opinion, he was probably the better actor in that movie, followed by Billy D and then Stallone.
All right. So Nighthawks.
Yeah.
Well, we're on number 9. Now, Rutger is like always like good villain.
Yeah, he's good as a good guy too. If you ever watch Blind Fury, he
I'm
plays
not saying like he was like only good as a villain. I'm just saying like he is a good villain.
yeah, but he's good as good guys too in some movies.
Mhm. Yeah. We're on number 9.
Yeah, my turn, I think.
Mhm.
I have Halloween too. I'm pretty sure you have it as well.
Nope.
Really?
It would be an
thought you-
honorable mention,
Yeah,
but it
well-
did not quite make the list.
That was the first Halloween movie I watched because it was the only one they had at the video store. So it was, yeah.
Mhm.
I was a
Okay.
I was a victim of the old VHS stores when it came to Halloween, but pretty solid sequel. In my opinion, continues off where the first left off very, very well. I'm not sure if I liked the fact that Michael Myers was related to Jamie Lee Curtis's character though, but that's just me. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's a slasher in a hospital, and I thought it worked. I think I'd give it an 8. You know, it does exactly what it's supposed to, and it does it well. Donald Pleasance is maybe even better in this than in the first one. Jamie Lee Curtis is slightly less annoying.
I still maintain like she's a teenager. She's not like, like you're watching it as an adult.
No, I thought she was annoying when I was a kid too. I was like, shut up! Don't give away your position. But then she yells and screams. Fuck that bitch! I was rooting for Michael Myers.
No, I give her a little bit of a pass. So it's when it became a trope, then it became an issue. But she's a teenager, right? She's stressed, she's in shock, and she's trying to survive a man or a being that's trying to kill her for. So
Yeah, well,
If you
in
don't
the
have a
first one though, she stabs him, and then he falls behind the couch, and then she sits and takes a break on the couch.
because
I
the
mean,
assumption is when someone's stabbed,
Yeah, but
they're
for
not going
fuck's
to get
sake,
back up.
still make sure stab him 50 times.
So
Yeah, no, I'm Team Michael Myers all the way in that series.
no, I think you're like being a little bit too, I don't know, hard.
No, not hard enough.
There'd be no movie. Yeah.
Just have him kill them,
So
all of them, and win.
then you'd have no franchise.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
plenty of other houses in the street.
Mm-hmm. Wait, what do you mean? What?
They could just do a sequel where he kills everyone in the next house.
I'm saying like. So I'm saying like you can't kill the slasher. You have no franchise.
No, I want Myers to survive,
So
not anyone else.
Mason's and Ronan. But anyway, no. So yes, no. Halloween 2 did not make my list. And Halloween 3, yes, it had nothing to do with the others, but that was because the original plan with the Halloween films was to have it just set on Halloween. But because the first two involved Michael Myers, people were associating the Halloween movies with Michael Myers, and so they had to bring him back for the fourth one. But that was the original plan with the Halloween films. That's why you don't see him in the third movie. But it forced them to bring him back in the fourth one.
I like 3. I'll admit it's not the best movie ever made at all, but it's still so it's kind of crazy enough that it's entertaining. You know, it's kind of bizarre, but I guess it's kind of a guilty pleasure movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Although 81 had a ton of great movies, he had quite a bit of good movies. I think basically 81 was the start of the like good films in the 1980s, because 1980 was still the cusp from ending the 70s into the next decade. But we really see the start of the good films coming out.
Yeah, I think it was last time I did that little thing at the beginning where I listed up all the actors that starred in their first movie in 1980. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it was a sick amount of actors that would become great stars later on. So it was almost like a landmark shift thing happening right there.
Yeah. So if you're done with your number 9, I'll talk about my number 9. And that is Escape from New York.
I have that one on my list too.
Yeah, it's a very dystopian feel, pretty much. It comes out in 1981, but it's set in 1988, so 7 years in the future from when it's released. Pretty much is very much like New York nowadays, so it's kind of prescient in its own right. But basically, it's still within the midst of the Cold War, so that's still an element of this film. And then about 10 years after, when you see the midst of China and so alliance China and Soviet Union, the United States government turning Manhattan into a maximum security prison, the president, Air Force One is hijacked, and the president has to escape, and he lands in an escape pod in Manhattan. So basically, he's pretty much within the confines of the maximum state prison that Manhattan Island has become. He's played by Donald Pleasance. So he has to be rescued. And who do they send in? Snake Plissken, played by Kurt Russell, who, when you see him enter Manhattan Island, he uses a stealth glider to land on top of the World Trade Center. And from that point on, pretty much, it's making way through Manhattan to find the president. So, and I don't want to go into too much details because I feel like it's an experience you have to watch.
Also, it's the second movie on your list with Adrienne Barbeau.
Yeah, she was kind of big in the 80s. So
yeah,
she was in
double big.
Oh, yeah. Harry Dean Stanton's in it. Ernest Borgnine, Lee Van Cleef, Isaac Hayes is in it. He became an idiot later on in life. Yeah, so it's basically the premise itself, simple. Yeah, it's one of those movies where it's I don't feel like my description would do it justice, because you'd have to experience it, because it came out in 1981, but the events are set primary events are set 16 years later, so in the mid 1990s.
It's it's kind of it has the atmosphere that John Carpenter is known for. You know, the guy nails atmosphere, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, very much nails atmosphere. Very much
Even
nails
with
the atmosphere.
Prince of Darkness, which is kind of an obscure Carpenter movie, that one has incredible atmosphere as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say you don't. I mean, it was a disappointment. It was okay, but like all you need to really do. I mean, I'd have to rewatch it, but for me, it's like I only really watch Escape from New York.
It's almost a remake, really.
Yeah.
Instead of Isaac Hayes,
Everyone's escaping from Cleveland. Everyone's escaping from Cleveland. There's a meme where it's like, you know, like it gives a number of like percentage of astronauts that are from Ohio, and it's like, what is it about your state that makes people want to leave the planet?
Yeah.
So, yeah, before I don't know what happened to James Cameron. I don't know what happened to James Cameron. Escape from Chirac, yes. But anyway, that's my number 9. Escape from New York.
Yeah, solid one.
Mm-hmm.
Great soundtrack, made by John Carpenter.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the remake he did of his own soundtrack for that one?
Not the remake, no.
He did like a music video thing where he's performing it. It's awesome.
I guess it was kind of a music video, but I saw when he did for Big Trouble in Little China.
That's one of my least favorite Carpenter movies. I don't hate it, but I always thought it was overrated.
You like so bent on like making mortal enemies of people.
People will forgive a lie, but they will never forgive the truth. Let's just say that. I didn't say it was a bad movie.
Opinion is not a truth.
I said I felt it was overrated. So it's more a 7 than a 10.
Anyway. Now our number 8.
Yeah, your turn.
Okay, my number 8 is probably the only not the like 1 or 2 horror movies on my list. All right. I'm going to say right here, okay, Friday the 13th Part 2, not on my list. All right. Would have made an honorable mention. Yes, I know. It's the spoiler alert. It's the first time you actually have Jason as the killer, but I never really got into the Friday the 13th franchise. But this is one of my favorite movies. It is a werewolf film, and I think one of the best werewolf films to date in that genre. And I don't think werewolf films get enough love. Like they kind of like fade into the background sometimes because people are focused on vampires and things like that. It is not The Howling. Howling came close. It is an American Werewolf in London. I did enjoy The Howling.
I watched An American Werewolf in London for the first time just a few months ago.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was great.
I think American Werewolf in London edges it.
Yeah, it's not on my list though because I've only seen it once, so I couldn't justify it being a favorite. But I'll still say it's probably one of the best werewolf movies ever made, easily.
Yeah, easily especially one of the best werewolf films ever made.
It definitely has the best human to werewolf transformation scene put on screen.
I'd say better than The Howling. So, as far as like the effects for the werewolf transformation,
the transformation scene reminded me a bit of The Thing. So I'm wondering if they used a lot of the same techniques.
Chances are yes, because you will see, like, you know, I've watched movies from pretty much every decade, and while I do not pretend to be an expert, in like Hollywood history or anything like that, or Hollywood films in general, like you pick up on things. You pick up on techniques used or reused from one film to another, or techniques that will inspire something in another film, pretty much, or out and out recycling of rejected props and so forth from one film to another. In case in points, I'm most likely to be talking about this again because chances are this movie, not chances are, but this movie will definitely make my list for 1985, and that is Fright Night. Fright Night, there's an element in Fright Night that is recycled from a previous movie from the year before. All right, so like every so often, Hollywood will do that. Either it's because the technique works so well that it's like, hey, like, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it sort of approach, or they're just lazy. But most of the time, it's because it's such a good technique, such a good effect that they'll reuse it for other films, or they'll inspire people to try their hand at it and possibly improve upon it. Case in point, the effects with the werewolf transformation in American Werewolf in London, and you see similarities in other films like The Thing and so forth.
Yeah.
So
once the cat's out of the bag, everyone starts using it.
Yeah, so it's like it's that's pretty much how Hollywood works. It's pretty much how Hollywood has always worked.
Yeah.
And like, you know, once they latch onto something that works, they'll stick with it until something better comes along.
It's the same with the video game industry, really.
So, but that's how they work. So, but anyway, it's American Werewolf in London. It pretty much just follows like two American, like basically they're graduate students, and they're trekking across Yorkshire, right? Literally American. It's in London, and long story short, they are attacked. One of the guys is killed. The other one is injured. The beast is shot and killed. So the assumption is that, like, you know, all's well pretty much, but then the one who survives begins experiencing changes, and basically it's from that point on realizing that, well, yeah, it wasn't just a normal beast attack. He was attacked by a werewolf, and so he's
it's aged remarkably well, I thought.
Yeah. So it's like I said, like, you know, really, it's like, I don't really want to go into details, pretty much, but you know, it's because there's certain elements in this movie that, fucking hell. Oh my god. Sound travels. Yeah, don't watch the second one, American Werewolf in Paris. You can skip that, pretty much. But played by, let's see, David is played by, what's his name? David Naughton. So, David Naughton plays David.
Bricktop,
who's the one who survives and starts going through the changes and realizes that, you know, like every full moon he becomes a werewolf. Don't want to go into details because I don't want to spoil anything.
There's not that much to spoil, though. I mean, it's a werewolf movie. Very straightforward.
Yeah, no, but I don't want to spoil any kills or anything like that because there are quite a number of kills.
Yeah.
In this movie, so I don't exactly want to spoil anything. It's written and directed by John Landis. So he's probably pretty much a name, like not pretty much, but he is a name in Hollywood, and like it's a very well done werewolf film. And that, like, when it's on, I watch it regardless if it's October around Halloween or not. Hey, fuck Norris. Yeah, it's not big name actors in it, so it's like appreciative. So that way, it doesn't take away from the film. Pretty much, it focuses entirely on the script and the story and everything like that. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, American Werewolf in London is my number 8.
Well, my number 8 is one of your honorable mentions. It's Friday the 13th, Part 2, which I think I watched when I was 8 or something. It scared the fuck out of me. And there were a lot of forests near where I live, and I sometimes had to walk through them in the dark, going home from the Boy Scout stuff and all that. So yeah, could have been a Jason in there, right? But like you said, it's the first Jason movie, and this and 3 was probably what was remade in the 2009 when the remake happened, because it certainly wasn't a remake of 1. But it's good. It's a very solid slasher in my opinion, and the ending is great when he comes through the window and grabs her and you see his deformed face. It's probably the scariest looking Jason in the whole series, and if you think about it, because the other ones are kind of over the top. He has worms coming out of him, and it's too much. But in this, he actually looks like what that deformed kid would look like. And he has patches of beard and stuff, and some spots don't even grow a beard, right? But yeah,
I think the how he looked in the second one is, I mean, I know the hockey mask is iconic, but I think it's creepier with just the sack on him. I don't know what it is.
It's way creepier. I'm still wondering where he learned to drive though, but
yeah, it's one of those where it's like,
plus his
considering the lore that was set up in the first one, you have to wonder, like, okay, how's that work?
Yeah, and he followed the first, the lady from the first one, and stalked her. I think he used the phone too a little bit.
Yeah,
disable so something like that. I can't remember clearly, but rock solid slasher. I thought 8 out of 10. I'd say the Part 2 is better than 1.
I actually, in terms of like, I mean, I do enjoy Part 1, but yeah, I think Part 2 is arguably better.
Yeah, because Jason in this one is way creepier than his mom in the first one. Yeah. Because Jason comes off as a monster. His mom comes off as a crazy person. And the monster is scarier, I think.
Yeah, and plus I can't. So spoiler alert if you have not seen Part 1, all right? So, if you don't want any spoilers, if you plan on watching like the Part 1, cover your ears, all right? I'll do this when I'm done talking. But his mom is the killer in the first movie. His mom is a killer in the first movie, and there's a part when she's going after the final girl, and you hear Jason's voice, kind of like, kill her, mommy, kill her, mommy, kill her, mommy. And like... And his mom is pretty much just getting the crap beaten out of her by the final girl at one point. Yes, Jacob Watts. Like, what? Spoilers? Like she's getting the crap beaten out of her by the final girl. And my parents were seeing it in the audience at the time. They were in the theater. And my dad says at one point some guy like pipes up, "Let her go, mommy. Let her go, mommy. Let her go, mommy." Because he's like just beating the crap out of Mrs. Voorhees. But I think like when she's revealed as the killer, I remember when I first saw it, my initial reaction was like really?
Yeah.
But then Jason comes in the second one and okay, now that's the monster. So
well, I figured it out right away because it was like the only candidate.
Well, that's true. Pretty much because it's like who else would have motive to do it?
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, but like, I remember like when I first watched it, I was like, "That's it, really?"
Yeah. But you know, horror movie slashers and stuff, they don't need that, really great writing and twists and stuff to be good.
Oh no,
It's
not
his
really.
own.
It's like
Yeah,
the only reason you really watch slasher movies is for the kills.
yeah. To just have this hopefully creepy person kill these people because
Yeah,
that's it. You
pretty
know,
much.
and then you just sit there and hope, yeah, this annoying one gets killed first or something.
Yeah, and that's like unfortunate when it comes. We'll get back into the list, ladies and gentlemen. But that's like the unfortunate tropes that like came with it with the slasher franchise is the whole one-dimensional characters.
Yeah.
So it's like you have the jock, the hoe, the drug, like the druggy,
The nerd.
or the stoner, pretty much the nerd. It's like basically one dimensional, like one aspect of their characters, and it just became kind of a thing in the slasher franchise for a long while now. I'm like, at this point, I'm like, you can pretty much tell which ones are going to be the victims.
You keep mentioning one of those tropes on your kick streams a lot, by the way.
Which one?
The fucking camping hoe.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
they are hosts if they camp.
Yeah.
Um.
And they camp
Anyway.
at Crystal Lake.
Yeah. So camping whore.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, my number 8 is American Werewolf in London. Again, like one of the best werewolf movies to be made. If you have not seen it, go. Like I'd recommend it. Check it out.
Yeah. And I'm to do number 7.
I mean, did you give your number 8?
Yeah, Friday the 13th.
Oh yeah. So we're on number 7. Sorry.
Yeah, my number 7 is a movie that actually won an Oscar for its special effects. Dragon Slayer.
That's on my list.
Yeah, it's a great fantasy movie. The dragon looks fantastic, except when it's flying, then it looks like a paper airplane.
Yeah, I mean, basically, but I forgive it. The effects back then weren't the level.
It's only when it's flying, though.
But like when it's like the dragon, like for those in the chat who have not seen Dragon Slayer, the thumbnail, the dragon on it is the dragon from Dragon Slayer.
Yeah,
like that's how good those practical effects are when the dragon is not flying.
It was the best dragon on screen until Reign of Fire, in my opinion. And I'd say both of them look better than Smaug from The Hobbit.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I love Dragon Slayer. So I figured you're talking about it. I'll kind of chime in because it is on my list.
Yeah, chime in all you want. Palpatine's in it too. He plays a priest.
Yeah,
he's not in it long.
No, he's not in it long. No. And basically the premise of the film is there's a dragon kind of not laying waste to these parts pretty much, but it is a nuisance for one of a better way of putting it. However, the king has kind of made a deal with it that every so often a female virgin would be sacrificed to the dragon, basically to appease the dragon and keep the dragon from basically laying waste to the land. However, and basically the women who are by lottery, picked to do this are from the village, the poor people, right? So like basically the aristocrats, the royalty, they're protected as a result of this deal.
Oh, and fun thing, the hero is played by the guy, the wimpy guy from Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah, Peter McNichol.
Yeah, the guy who has the painting.
Yeah.
That's the hero. And he does well.
Yeah, which works because it's like he ends up being the Dragon Slayer. And yes, there is, maybe it's done by Disney, it does have some brief nudity because there is a funny scene where like he's traveling with this group that's come to get basically pay for the services of the wizard, that because Peter McNichol plays basically an apprentice, wizard's apprentice in this film, and this group of villagers has come to see, like, see if the wizard will help them with slaying the dragon. And one of the villagers, and like basically the assumption is all of these like villagers are male that's come. So during a scene, one of the villagers goes to bathe in the lake, and McNichol's character jumps in and kind of goes underneath the surface to find out that no, it's a female.
Yeah,
you know, it's kind of easy to tell, pretty much. But it's like, and yes, that's nudity.
Yeah, Trey hasn't seen it. I'm surprised. Yeah, add it to your list, Trey. I think you'd like it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's not a masterpiece. It's just well done for what it's trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a classic fairy tale fantasy story, really.
Yeah.
And
the hero is like not. It's like basically he makes mistakes. He's not perfect.
Oh hell no! He's borderline incompetent.
Yeah. But he's brave when it matters.
Yeah, he gets
like I
the
said,
job done.
He becomes the dragon slayer. But very, like I said, very interesting movie. It's like the premise is they've like basically they want the help of the wizard because the village is pretty much, for the most part, even though there's ones that are just saying, hey, like, just let the lottery happen, sort of a mentality, is they're done with allowing the females in their village be sacrificed to this dragon. Basically appeasement be damned. They're done. So that's like that. So they want to end the dragon. And that's.
Oh, and it's definitely R-rated, I think.
Yeah.
Because there's a couple of brutal kills in it, if I remember.
Yeah.
Especially the
one I like the princess
fire.
in it. I like the princess in it.
Yes. Actually, a princess that isn't a bitch, even though she's not the love interest.
Yeah, she's not the love interest, but she's also not a bitch. She's actually a very good character.
Yeah, which is rare, because usually if you have two female characters, one of them's a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in those classic fantasy movies, right? You have a villain female and a good female.
Yeah.
And this one, no, they're actually both strong female characters that didn't exist in Hollywood before 2015.
Mm-hmm. And the female lead, I agree with Tara Crystal, is a good example of a strong female without taking over the movie.
Yeah, they're just well written. They're written as characters, not political props.
That's basically just, I guess, a trope in fantasy storytelling, pretty much. That it has to be a virgin.
Oh, it's because he has to eat them.
Yeah, well, may have to eat them, but like virgins and non-virgins would taste the same. But basically,
no, it's not that. I mean, if you're eating a sandwich, you wouldn't eat a sandwich someone has fucked before.
Why are you even remotely comparing it to that?
Because the dragon won't eat, a meal that has been fucked. So he's eating virgins. Common sense.
This is what I deal with, chat.
Well, it makes sense when I put it that way, doesn't it?
No, it doesn't. Anyway, so when we get to number 6, we'll skip over mine because Dragon Slayer is my number 6. But my number 7 is a comedy. Basically, it's like high school comedy. Set in the 50s. Set in the 50s. Called Porky's. Where really, the gist of the movie is you have these high school boys that plan to lose their virginity. And Porky's is a strip club near where they live. This movie would not be able to be made today.
No. The showers, well, there's 2 events in the shower, really. There's one where they're just spying, and then it's when they get caught, or rather one of them gets caught.
One gets caught because he sticks his dick through the hole.
Yeah. And the obese teacher lady chokes his chicken.
Yes, and I shared the scene on Twitter, I believe, where she's trying to get the dean or like the principal to allow her like to look at a lineup of these male students' dicks because she would recognize the one she grabbed.
Well, she didn't just grab it; she grabbed it with both hands and put her.
I know, I'm
foot
saying, but
on-
she would recognize it. She's trying to.
Yeah, but it was
She-
brutal.
To get him to allow a lineup where like these boys would stand naked, so she could look at their dicks and say that's the one, pretty much. And the scene I shared is like that scene, and I believe that scene was at least the lines from the coach were ad-libbed, where he's talking about bringing in a sketch artist and all that shit. Pretty much, I think those lines were ad-libbed, for the most part. So,
One of the reasons why it's amazing is the fact that it couldn't be made today.
Yeah,
because that's pretty much a stamp of quality now, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like it's like one of those like high school comedy, coming of age type movies. Does not like it's basically raunchiness done right, because I feel like nowadays raunchiness basically swan dives into crudeness. Like, raunchy to me is like I shouldn't laugh at this, but this is funny as hell. Pretty much, it's kind of like it's dirty, but not like crude dirty, like humor. And Hollywood, I don't know what it is, but they want to swan dive over into the crudeness aspect of the raunchiness, and not just let people just leave the humor like it as is.
There's another one from the same period called The Joy of Sex, which is the name of a book in the movie. It's similar to Porky's. One of the students tosses a white dildo into the pool and yells, "It's Moby Dick."
Yeah.
Stupid shit like that.
Yeah. So maybe at some point I'll do like one of those retro. I mean, he said January has 5 Wednesdays. Maybe I'll use one of the Wednesdays. This is after the major holidays to talk about Porky's.
Yeah, it's a classic.
So,
in my opinion, for the right reasons, because they had the balls to do all kinds of stuff, and it worked. Nobody was offended by that one. People were laughing their asses off.
Yeah, that and like another one like Revenge of the Nerds wouldn't be made today either. But I think like Porky's probably of the two would be the one to like make these SJWs faint. Especially
the feminists.
Yes.
Just toxic male behavior and all that stuff.
Yeah. So January is 5. All right. So, but that's my number 7, Porky's.
Yeah, and here. Who's
Dragon Slayer was Dragon Slayer was 6. So
no,
I already talked about it.
Dragon Slayer was you're and Porky's
I already talked
was
about it.
So Porky's was your number 6.
No, Porky's was my number 7. Dragon Slayer is my number 6, and I already talked about it.
Yeah. So it's my turn to do 6 then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have Escape from New York, so we can skip that one too.
Yeah.
And then I'll do number 5.
Yes.
Number 5 is I think I got Trey to watch this one, or maybe it was Orange Hat. It's a survival thriller called Southern Comfort. It's a bit like Predator without the alien. A bunch of soldiers are having a kind of like almost like a survival drill in the swamp. It stars Powers Booth, Keith Carradine, and Fred Ward is in it. Sonny Landham plays one of the villains, I guess, as does Brian James. Basically, the soldiers piss off the Cajuns, and by shooting blanks at them to scare them, and the Cajuns start hunting them. using lethal traps and all kinds of stuff. So very much Predator, because the soldiers they only have blanks. They can't defend themselves. They have blanks and bayonets, and they have to try to get through the swamp, not knowing where the hell they are, and get to safety while the Cajuns are putting up traps, all kinds of deadly shit using on them, and the kills are kind of brutal. So I think if you liked Predator, you'd probably like this one, because it has that they really have that sense of the main characters being hunted, and they can die at any time.
Okay.
Again, not a masterpiece, but it's one I watched over and over again, and it kind of grows on me every time I watch it. I think, but
Yeah, it doesn't
I'd give
necessarily
it
be a masterpiece. So
yeah, I'd give it an 8 though, 8 out of 10. The acting is really good in this.
Clash of the Titans would be an honorable mention for me. It almost made the list just because I like Greek mythology and I appreciate the original Clash of the Titans. Remake.
I've actually never seen it. I've seen the remake, have the remake on Blu-ray. Never seen the original. I'll add it to my list so I don't get candles in the mail.
I'm with you, Trey. Like, come on.
Well, it just happens sometimes. Some movies slip you by. Every time I try to watch it, something comes up and, it's not on TV anymore, right?
Yeah, my face, I was like trying.
I could tell. And you know what? I completely agree with everyone who's cringing that I haven't seen it, because it's one of those movies you should watch, and I just haven't gotten around to it.
Yeah.
And since I'm watching 80s movies these days a lot, I'll watch it before the weekend's over.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay. My number 5. Gravy, I'm judging you too. My number 5 is like the only family friendly, I would say, movie on my list. But I had to add it on my list because I grew up watching it. I still love it. It's the nostalgia from my childhood, but it also is, I believe, a very good movie in its own right, and that is The Great Muppet Caper. All right, it is a Muppet movie from 1981. So you have Kermit, you have Fozzie, you have Gonzo. All three work for a newspaper, and they're at the risk of getting fired because they're not finding stories that that sell papers pretty much. So they're tasked with traveling to London to interview. All right. What's her name? I'm blanking on Diana Rigg's character's name. Fucking hell. Why am I fucking blanking on the character's name? Diana Rigg has a diamond. That's... Well, I gotta look. Lady Holiday. Thank you. Lady Holiday. And why can't I see the StreamYard chat anymore? Alright, there it is. Lady Holiday. Right, so basically she has a diamond called the baseball diamond. It's about as big as big as a baseball, and it's round like a baseball, which is why it's called the baseball diamond. And then we're going to interview her. And at some point in the movie, the diamond is stolen, and Miss Piggy, who is Lady Holiday's assistant, who during the movie, Miss Piggy tries passing herself off as Lady Holiday to Kermit and Fozzie, that she is framed for the theft. Has quite a bit of I gotta refresh StreamYards because there it goes. Never mind. Like the chat finally fucking loaded. As Charles Grodin. If you can believe this element of his character, that he actually serenades Miss Piggy. Like he actually kind of pursues her in a sense. But there's some adult humor in the film, like not like adults like dirty humor, but like adult type jokes where it's like when you're watching it as a kid, it kind of goes over your head, sort of a thing. But then you watch it as an adult and you're like, oh.
So he literally wanted to pork her.
Yes, pretty much. I brought the paper towels. Yes, Rolf. Yes, it's like there's like cameos in this movie. Lady Holiday is like a fashion designer. John Cleese has a small role in this. Like the part with John Cleese, like his character and his wife is like so fucking funny. It is like like kind of like quintessential British humor in a way, but it still really works. And Fozzie and Kermit and Gonzo have to travel by, like, you know, they can't afford plane tickets, so they basically pack themselves like as if they're pets. So they're in the cargo area and they just get tossed out when they're over London. And they can't afford a good hotel, so they have to the hotel that's run by Dr. Teeth or so, and all like Sam the Eagle's there, even though Sam the Eagle's like American. But yeah, like, you know, basically the premise is the baseball diamond, the theft of the baseball diamond, and kind of like who stole it, clearing Miss Piggy's name, and all that. Jim Henson has a little cameo in this movie as well. So there's some musical numbers in it, but they work. So it's one of my favorite Muppet movies. It's probably my favorite Muppet movie of all time. I even enjoy it more than the first Muppet movie. From about a couple years earlier, roughly.
I've never seen any of those either.
But no puppeteers around. Yeah, Kermit rides a bike, and like it's actually a panned out shot where you see him riding the bike. No puppeteers around. Peter Falk, who's well known for playing Columbo, he has a really funny small role. Like, you're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me, Smalls. You need to watch at least Great Muppet Caper. You don't have to watch the rest to understand what's going on in this, because each plot is different. At least watch Great Muppet Caper.
No, I'm gonna watch both of them. Because heck, it's been ages since I watched anything like that. So
you have to watch the Muppet movie, Great Muppet Caper, and I also love Muppet Christmas Carol. So.
Christmas. Muppet Christmas Carol or the regular one?
The Muppet Christmas Carol.
Okay, yeah, because I've seen the one you told me to watch, the one from the 80s, which was fantastic.
Yeah, it's the best adaptation of Christmas Carol, live action adaptation. Relatively faithful to mostly faithful to the book.
Yeah, I also watched the Jim Carrey one, and I didn't hate that one either.
No, that one's fine. But I'm saying like live, that's more like animated. But live action, the best one is, excluding the Muppet one, George C. Scott one from 1984.
Yeah, I watched it. I think you had me watch it for Christmas last year, didn't you?
I believe so. Yeah, I was like, you have to watch this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's my number 5.
Yeah, and it's your turn to do 4 because you did the even numbers first, right?
Yes. And my number 4 is a sequel, and depending on where you are in the world, it's known by 2 titles. It's known by 2 titles: The Road Warrior in its native Australia, or Mad Max 2.
That's my number 4 too.
All right, so basically it's it's a sequel. It's like obviously Mad Max 2,
Yeah.
where you follow Mel Gibson's character Max Rokitansky. I just call him Max, pretty much. From the first movie, he is a former policeman, and now he's the road warrior. You know, he's like just basically traveling from point to point, with his dog, and something happens to the dog where it's like, man, my little quirk when it comes to films with animals, pretty much. But that's at the end, pretty much. But he's kind of drawn into, in a way, helping this ragtag group of people who are being terrorized and coerced and intimidated by these, how do you want to call it, like marauders, with like very, very, very Mad Max feel to their looks and everything. Basically, like the whole centers around oil.
And holy crap, did the Fallout games take inspiration from this movie in particular, including the dog, because you always get a dog in those games.
Yeah. There's a gyrocopter in it, the gyrocopter pilot.
You know, the gyro pilot played the mouth of Sauron.
Yeah.
And also the one of the aliens in Revenge of the Sith. The guy on, you know, the leader of the planet where Obi-Wan goes and deals with Grievous.
I don't remember Revenge of the Sith well enough to remember that. I remember his the mouth of Sauron.
Yeah.
And Multi. But yeah, Lord Humongous was great.
He was a fucking Swede. I can even tell by the accent.
Yeah, so and basically he's drawn into this skirmish of sorts between these villagers who have, like, you know, this fuel that these marauders want, and like the marauders themselves, he's like basically have Mad Max in between all this, and so he's drawn into helping these villagers. And you have, I think, one of the best chases at the end of the movies.
Oh hell yes!
With the fuel truck and everything.
It's 15 minutes of insanity, and it's the stunts are crazy because they were done in high speed.
And I love the twist with the narrator, finding out who the narrator was the entire time.
Yeah.
Don't want to spoil anything if you haven't seen it, pretty much, because I love that little twist. You're like, oh, that's actually pretty cool. It's actually nice.
Yeah.
Because there's a narrator that's kind of like regaling the audience with this story about the Road Warrior. And you find out who the narrator is at the end.
And, you know, the fact that they call him the Road Warrior makes perfect sense, too. Because that's what he was to them.
Yeah, that's why I like that. That's why I know it's Mad Max 2 outside of Australia, but I know it as the Road Warrior. Or at least I knew it as the Road Warrior growing up, and then like people were like, oh, that's Mad Max 2.
In Norway, it was called Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior.
Yeah, so it's like it goes by like multiple titles.
Yeah, we had covered all the bases.
Yeah, so yeah, and the Road Warrior, that was the last we ever saw of him. He lives only in my memories. Yeah, like I said, I love when the narrator is revealed, and I would watch Thunderdome over the Mad Max Fury Road, because Mad Max Fury Road, whilst visually stylistic, is not a Mad Max movie. When Mad Max is relegated to a supporting character in his own movie, that's not a Mad Max movie.
Mad Max is very the plot and the form of plot, I guess, the basic story plot is very similar to what you'll see in franchises like Conan, James Bond, and Indiana Jones, because there's a new problem in every movie, right?
Yeah,
almost like a new MacGuffin in a way, but it's the same thing. And then you rarely see the side characters ever again in any other story.
Yeah. So, which I like. And Tina Turner was great too. Yeah, I like Tina Turner. You know,
I badly want a new one with Mel Gibson.
So part of me does too. But I don't. The only way that I would accept it, and be, um, uh, anticipate it, is if he was just about in complete creative control.
Yeah.
Writing, directing, so forth. Like that's the only way that I would remotely be excited for that movie. Like, Mel Gibson coming back as Mad Max. I would want him to have full control, or at least like final say. Pretty much.
I don't remember too much about Fury Road. I only saw it once when it came out. I didn't hate it, but I was also like, this isn't really Mad Max. It never got the Mad Max feeling from it.
So, I agree with this to an extent. However, like he was pretty much like, it didn't feel even like a Mad Max movie. Like even if he's like technically like the events happen around him, it's still a Mad Max movie. It still like feels it's still a Mad Max movie. Fury Road was not a Mad Max movie. It was a Furiosa movie.
Yeah, kind of.
So, but yeah, so Road Warrior makes my number 5.
No, it's your number 4.
Oh yeah, sorry, number 4.
Yeah, because it's my number 4 too. Which means now it's my turn with number 3. My number 3 is one of my favorite Bond movies ever, For Your Eyes Only, with Roger Moore. I think it's a damn near perfect Bond movie. It has an excellent villain, it has a good twist at the end, really good side characters. The soundtrack is fantastic. It's done by Bill Conti, I think, known for the Rocky movies and all that. And the Bond girl was my first on-screen crush when I was a kid. The one with the crossbow. Put her in the D&D game a few weeks ago. Melina Havelock from Greece. And what's his name? Julian Glover plays the villain. He does it excellently.
Who's also in Last Crusade.
Yeah.
And he was General Veers in Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, and voiced the spider in Harry Potter. Big spider.
Mm-hmm.
And Charles Dance has his first on-screen movie scenes. He doesn't have any lines, but he's in it as a nodding henchman. And Pierce Brosnan's late wife did her last performance in it. She was dying while she played the role in the movie. So lots of stuff going on in that one. Excellent chase scene. Well, two superb chase scenes in it. It's one with a rotten car in Italy. They're being chased by villains. Bond has to drive. I think it's heck. What's it called? AT something. Anyway, it's barely glued together. Bond has to drive that instead of an Aston Martin. And then later on, there's a ski chase down a bobsled slide. He's being chased by people on motorcycles, and it's great. It's as a Bond movie, it's a 10 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Topol is in it too.
I'm kind of with Gigawatts. Well, at least to this comment. Like, I have nothing against Roger Moore as Bond. I just couldn't get into his movies.
Yeah, he's Sean Connery said that the Moore movies added humor and gadgets at any cost, and the cost was the story.
Yeah.
However, in this one, they don't do it.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of gadgets in this movie at all.
Mm-hmm.
So this one's kind of an exception. It has humor, but I'd say it's more dark than the other Roger Moore movies.
Yeah. Like I said, like I think like Roger Moore is fine as Bond. Like I have no problem with Moore as Bond himself. It's just the movies he's in. I think, like
Yeah,
he,
they
he-
were.
like unfortunately with some of the bad ones.
Yeah, they're cartoony.
Yeah. So
This one wasn't.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen this one, I think you'd absolutely like it.
So I'll have to watch it because I said I couldn't really get into the Bond like Roger Moore ones because of the goofiness. So, but I'll for your eyes only. Okay, I have to try to get that one watched.
Yeah, it's.
I watched the Sean Connery ones. I watched the Soul, the only George Lazenby one, which I think George Lazenby could have been a good Bond, but he got kind of like the whole thing got screwed over, so he only did one film. Timothy Dalton, and Pierce Brosnan.
Timothy
Not in
Dalton
no
was,
particular order, pretty much. I've seen those.
Timothy Dalton was supposed to do more because Goldeneye was written for him, but then they had a 6-year legal strike issue with the Bond franchise. So when it came time to shoot a new one, Dalton said he didn't want to do it. He felt he was too old. So he just. Dalton actually played Bond as he was in the novels. He stuck to the source material. So he's the closest to the real Bond.
And that's the Bond he used for Call of Cthulhu, the one that Teresa wants to bang. So.
Yeah, because the year.
Yeah, because the year. Yeah, I'm saying I agree. Like he could, like I liked him as Bond in the only movie he did, but then like Hollywood shit happened, so he only ended up doing one.
Yeah, and the movie he did was pretty good too.
Yeah, and it was kind of like Bond, like early career Bond sort of situation.
Broke the fourth wall too.
Yeah,
because in the first scene he doesn't get the girl, and he looks at the camera and says, "This never happened to the other guy."
Yeah, so it's like
and then he walks off.
Yeah, but yeah, so that's your number 3. So my number 3 is a movie that we just did as far as like the 1s and 2s a couple months ago, back in September, roughly. Evil Dead. I think Evil Dead. This could be like this. I find really no faults, or let's put it this way: in terms of overall quality, Evil Dead is one of the few franchises that has like it's like consistently decent to good in terms of like what it's offered, as opposed to other franchises.
Even
however,
the remake was good.
Yeah. However, I think the first Evil Dead, it could have been a one-off. Yes, I know they set it up that like the first like potential sequel to happen, but at the same time, it's like the way that like the plot evolved in that movie, it could have been a one-off.
I have a thought on Evil Dead. And if you only watch Evil Dead 1, Bruce Campbell dies at the end.
Yeah.
Right? If that had been the only movie. Right? And then they reboot it with 2. So if you take Evil Dead 1 and assume Bruce dies in it, then the remake fits as a sequel. Because their core is still there behind the cabin. All covered in moss and stuff, as if the events from the first one happened. And then you have the new one that takes place in that building. So those three would function flawlessly as a trilogy together. And then you'd have another trilogy, which is Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, and Ash vs. Evil Dead. Yeah. Which is completely different in tone as well.
Yeah, so you basically once you get to 2, you start getting the comedy elements, which is like a vast, totally different from the first one.
Yeah, and all of those fit perfectly together as well. So you basically have 2 Evil Deads.
Yeah.
So if you want the horror one, you'll do Evil Dead 1, the remake, and the new one. And if you want the horror comedy, you do Ash versus Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness.
Yeah. So, but like I said, like regardless of how you watch them, like I said, it's like no real bad one in the franchise.
Yeah, it's one of the few franchises with no shit entries.
Yeah, like they're I would put probably the most recent one as like last, but that's not to say it's bad.
I liked it, and
I liked it. I would just put it just below. I would put it last, but it's still like a 7.5 out of 10.
And I actually thought it makes sense because if those what was it, the dark ones that have written the Necronomicon, it's not a thick book. You'd think, there might be more volumes.
Yeah.
Given the amount of knowledge supposedly that they had, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was all for that. I was like, I'll buy into that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the ankle scene. Ugh. Anyway, but yeah, like Evil Dead. Basically the premise is these 20-somethings are looking for basically weekend getaway, and they're going to this cabin, pretty much in the middle of nowhere. And while at the cabin, they find this. The reason why this premise works as opposed to the remake, as much as I like the remake, is it's recording. So they start playing the recording, which includes the recitation of the words to invoke the Deadites, the spirits.
Yeah.
Where the remake, it's you have a book that is in pretty much big bold letters, do not read, yet the idiot reads from it.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god.
Trey is mentioning the ankle scene. I'll tell you something. I used to play football, European football, and I've twisted my left ankle probably 20 times because once you've done it once, it's easier to do it again. And that one time, the sole of my foot was pointing upwards towards my knee.
Oh my god.
And I didn't break anything. So every time I see an ankle injury, when someone's playing sports or, like in a horror movie, I get a phantom pain.
I just can't anything with eyes or ankles. I don't know, but it's just it's weird. I can handle gore and slasher movies, but when it comes to just the ankle, slicing a tendon in an ankle or poking around the eyes, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, it's and if you've twisted your ankle badly, it stays with you because there's a grinding thing happening. And in my case, the bones in my ankle were grinding against gravel when I twisted it. And guess what? I still played for an hour more.
Oh.
Because, the foot's still warm. So you don't really... But later on when I got home, stiffened up, couldn't walk for probably 3 weeks.
Yeah, but like I said, very much that's pretty much the premise for Oh, and Terra Crystal, if you're still in the chat, I just so you know, I saw the recommendation, so it should be on my throne. But anyway, I just wanted to before I forget. But back to the Evil Dead, the premise is pretty much they listen to the recording, and invokes the spirits, and from that point on, pretty much it just all goes downhill from there. Because the spirits or the Deadites possess.
And then Mara sticks her head out the window and goes, "Stop reading."
Well, because Peter Vincent was reading from the Necronomicon we had for the Halloween episodes. I'm like, stop fucking reading. Yeah. Of course, he didn't hear me and still read, and then we had to deal with the Deadites for the Halloween D&D. But anyway, but that's Evil Dead. Not can't really say much more. Pretty much, that's the premise.
I actually
try and survive the just into the next morning, pretty much.
I actually didn't put it on my list because I like Evil Dead 2 more.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one I've watched the most.
I prefer the tone of Evil Dead because of the horror.
Yeah.
I do like Evil Dead 2. I like Army of Darkness. I'm saying I've generally gravitated more towards the straight horror tone ones than the comedy horrors. Even though I do like Ash versus Evil Dead. That's just my taste.
Yeah.
But the deer on like the deer head on the walls, like just both funny and creepy at the same time in number 2.
Yeah.
But that's my number 3, Evil Dead.
No, it's not. It's your number 3.
Yeah.
And
So-
now you have to do number 2.
Yes, and my number 2 is, as much as I like Harrison Ford's character in Star Wars, I prefer this other character that who, to me, there's only 3 of these movies. Even though the fourth one isn't entirely bad, it's okay.
Hashtag vindicated.
Raiders of the Lost Ark is my number 2. Well, I would say probably overall, I love each one for different reasons. But I would give the edge overall to Last Crusade, and that's primarily because I love the dynamic between Sean Connery and Harrison Ford, as Sean Connery as Henry Jones Sr. and Harrison Ford as Henry Jones Jr., aka Indiana Jones. But I do love Raiders of the Lost Ark. Premises that basically they're trying to find, or Indiana Jones is tasked to find the Ark before the Nazis do, because there's a power within the Ark itself that, if unleashed, would decimate pretty much the world. And like you're trying to stop the Nazis, Hitler, from finding this Ark and having Indy travel to different parts of the world to first to see his former love interest, Miriam, because she has a piece that he needs that was she still has from her father. What's his name? Abernathy. Like the father's not in there pretty much, but she has a piece that Indiana Jones needs. So he has to go see her, and ultimately ends up taking her with them because
Abner.
I'm like Abner. Yeah, her father Abner, because Indiana Jones kind of like was a mentor. Abner was a mentor to Indiana Jones when Indiana Jones was younger. And ultimately has to go with him because the bar she owns in this like Asian village in the middle of nowhere ends up getting burned down by these Nazis who are also trying to get the piece from her. And from there, pretty much adventure follows Indiana Jones. And one of the best, most iconic scenes in movie history with Indiana Jones and the sword wielder only really happened because Harrison Ford had, I believe, like food poisoning. He was sick.
John Rhys Davies has a deleted scene where the Nazis are going to execute him. But then Indy blows up the plane or something. So they rush to go over there, right? And that's how Sala escapes.
It was like either a stomach flu or something like that, but he was sick.
Yeah. However, John Rhys Davies, he had the same thing, and he had to stand there with his arms up in the air for 2 hours, and his stomach was getting worse and worse. And he said, he just shat himself.
Yeah, it was
in front of 30 people, and he didn't care. That's what he said.
At that point, it's like you're like, fuck it.
Yeah, it was just it was coming out. I don't care. He just stood there and shat himself.
Yeah, but like the sword wield scene, like Harrison Ford was sick, so he's like, why don't we just have Indiana Jones shoot him? And that little change to the scene made it so iconic.
Yeah.
And the face melting scene at the end is legendary.
Would you agree if I said that Indiana Jones 1 is the best adventure action movie, but 3 has the better story?
Yes. I think that's why I gravitate to 3. Like, I love the action adventure aspect of Raiders of the Lost Ark because it's very much like, basically, like when you like traveling point to point to point again, it's trying to like recover the Ark and following the clues and everything. Whereas when you add the element of Indiana Jones, like when you see Indiana Jones is like young, because the story, the third one begins where you see a young Indiana Jones played by River Phoenix. So you're kind of really getting a gauge of his family dynamic. especially
And
with his father, and
also
add,
his insane determination.
yes, and that taking that element and factoring it into it, like I think it evolved into a better story overall. Whereas Raiders of the Lost Ark was just like an homage to the like action adventure serials from like the 1930s, pretty much. So, yeah, Conflict was originally supposed to be indie, but he's committed to Magnum PI.
If you want to see how Tom Selleck might have turned out as Indiana Jones, watch High Road to China. It's an adventure movie with him and Bess Armstrong. He is fantastic in it. And once I saw it, I was like, yeah, he could have played Indy. I can't unsee Harrison Ford ever, you know. But once I saw that one, it was, yeah, he could have pulled it off. It would have been different, but he certainly wouldn't have been bad.
Yeah. Like it's like for me, it's like I can't not see Harrison Ford in the role. I'm not saying Tom Selleck would have been. I couldn't see Tom Selleck in it. I just can't unsee Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Raiders of the Lost Ark had to make my list, and I love the Indiana Jones trilogy. It's like I actually prefer the Indiana Jones character to Han Solo, just because I love the brains and brawn aspect of Indiana.
Yeah, me too.
So
me too. And Han Solo isn't that great in Return of the Jedi.
No, not really. But I think like at that point, like Harrison Ford had checked out because he wanted his character to die in the second one.
Yeah, because there was nothing really for him to do in the third one.
Yeah.
And he just tags along. You don't really need Harrison Ford or Han Solo for the shield destruction scene, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Could have had Lando. You know.
Go after some Raiders of Lost Ark. Yeah, I don't think I've seen that episode. I was watching old episodes of Magnum PI, but I don't think I've seen that. Yes, yep. But yeah, so that was my number 2, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
It was my number 1. Big spoiler.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we did have 4. I called it. We had at least 4 crossovers. My number 2, though, is a movie. If someone in the chat or watching have never seen it, go watch it. It's Das Boot. It's the best submarine movie ever made, easily. And it's from the German side of World War II. And you get to see the what it was like being aboard a German submarine in the Atlantic during the war. And it showcases how they weren't all evil either. They were soldiers, right? Put into a situation that was shitty. And the movie is pretty damn dark, and holy crap is it tense. And it's more claustrophobic than Alien is, easily. And the ending is amazing. It's not a nice ending. Spoiler, but it's the music as well, and the atmosphere. They nail everything. Yeah, Citizen Ronan says it. You can feel the claustrophobia. It's I've never experienced movie claustrophobia like that before at all. It's a 10 out of 10 movie, maybe even an 11 for its genre. And like I said, if you haven't watched it before, at least watch it once in your life. It's one of those.
So I'd have to go back and rewatch it because it's been like years since I've seen it.
Yeah.
So I didn't remember it too well to add it to my list.
Yeah, which it wouldn't be your favorite if you only watch it once.
Yeah.
So.
But
yeah, Terror Crystal says it's one of the best war movies. That's not necessarily about war. It's about people, people on the submarine, and people doing their duty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, for me, like one of the best war movies. Not necessarily about war. For me, was like Solid 17.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
Trey
in
hasn't.
German prison camp.
Trey, you haven't seen it? Holy crap, Trey! You're in for a hell of an experience. See if you can get a director's cut or something, because it adds to it. But
Mhm.
yeah, 10 out of 10. I bought it on Blu-ray almost immediately once I got a Blu-ray player, and never regretted it. It was a no-brainer.
So I do like Mr. Roberts. But yeah, so we're on our number 1.
Yeah, mine is Raiders of the Lost Ark. So I'm done for today. Well,
Yeah.
we need to read the up until 1, like we do.
Oh yeah,
Like we do.
so 10 to 2 from my list is The Cannonball Run, Escape from New York, An American Werewolf in London, Porky's, Dragon Slayer, The Great Muppet Caper, The Road Warrior, aka Mad Max 2, The Evil Dead, and Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, I have Nighthawks with Stallone and Hauer and Billy D. Halloween 2, Friday the 13th, Part 2, Dragon Slayer, Escape from New York, Southern Comfort, Mad Max 2, For Your Eyes Only, Dost's Boot, and spoiler, number 1 is Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yes.
So I'm folding.
Well, my number 1 is not a war movie, but it's a military movie of sorts. And it's a comedy with Bill Murray and Harold Ramis. John Candy's in it as well. And you have the 2 main characters, played by Bill Murray and Harold Ramis, enlisting in the army. Especially when Murray's character hits like the trifecta of dead ends in his life. Yes, and that is Stripes. Also with John Larroquette, who says one of the best scenes in movies. And like I said, basically they're 2 friends, and Murray's character decides to enlist in the army because he doesn't see his life going anywhere, pretty much. In the span of a day, like not even a day, pretty much, he's lost his car, his job, and his girlfriend. Even though the way he loses his job is funny as fuck, he loses like all 3. He loses all 3, so basically he sees his life going nowhere, and he's been seeing these commercials for the army, and he's like, you know what, I'm going to join, because, like, what else is he going to do with his life? And he convinces Harold Ramis' character, his friend, to join with them, thinking that it's going to be like a walk in the park of sorts. Little do they know that's going to be one of, like, comedically, one of the worst times of their lives, essentially, because they have to go through basic training, weeks of basic training, and their drill sergeant is Sergeant Holka. Can't quite remember that actor's name. Hold on, I gotta look up the cast, because I love the actor who plays Sergeant Holka. Warren Oates. Warren Oates. He's like, I love he delivers his lines in a dry manner, but they're funny as hell. And how he delivers them, like when he tells Psycho, "Lighten up, Francis." What were you gonna say, Steve?
I was going to say that basic training is not fun.
No, but I'm saying it's not fun, but like they managed to do it like comedically. Yeah, it's like Sergeant Hulk with the big toe is going to see how far he sticks it up your ass. So. And John Larroquette is the CO, the commanding officer, and he kind of wants adventure. He doesn't like find it necessarily fulfilling to be the commanding officer of like basically where basic training happens. And again, it's a movie that could not be made today because there's a scene with Larroquette and he's using a telescope to spy on the women showering. And there's like full on nudity in that scene, like when he's doing that. Like he wants prestige, yeah. Like he wants basically to rise in the ranks, and he doesn't feel like he can do that if he's just a commanding officer of this, like, the army base where basic training occurs. And Judge
You know,
Reinhold is in this. Yeah.
you know the fun thing is though, if a bunch of women spotted, I don't know, Jason Momoa or someone showering, and they had a binoculars or whatever, they'd look.
hmm
It would be exactly the same.
And this had Sean Young.
Yeah. Underrated
PJ
actress.
Soles. All right, basically, like they basically play like two women, like security forces on the base. PJ Soles, who's in the first Halloween film. Sean Young, who made, like, basically broke into Hollywood roughly the year before, and had basically a very good career ever since. They basically paid like two security forces sergeants, or I think they're sergeants anyway, but security forces who kind of become the love interests for Murray's and Ramis' characters. What's his name? I'm blanking. Like, Dave Thomas has a small role in Stripes. He's the announcer of sorts, like for the mud wrestling at the bar that the guys go to near the end, to kind of like commemorate the fact that they are like they survived basic training. That also movie would not be made today. I love the urban assault vehicle that's revealed in the movie. Don't want to reveal what it is because it's funny as hell when it's revealed, like the type of vehicle it is. Yeah, it's a highly quotable film. Like, one of my favorite quotes, one of my favorite parts is when they are speaking to the recruiter near the beginning of the movie, and the recruiter is asking them questions as part of like the recruitment process, and he asks them, "Have either of you been convicted of a crime?" And Murray's like, no, and Ramis goes, "Never convicted." I love how Ramis delivers that line. I think Ramis is probably like, I like Bill Murray as a comedian, but I think Ramis was the funnier of the two. Yeah, 2 weeks to film the mud wrestling bar scene. No, like, surprise, shocking surprise. They weren't anxious to get that part finished. But it's one of my favorite movies. Like, if it's on, I'm sitting down to watch it because they found a way to make a very good comedy around basically the military and like basic training.
I have the same thing with The Great Outdoors. Whenever I see it, I just sit down and watch it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the best comedy ever made or anything like it. It's just something about it. I just sit down and watch it.
Yeah.
That one is John Candy as well.
Yes. So, but I had to put it number one. I had to give it the edge over Raiders of the Lost Ark, even though Raiders of the Lost Ark is cinematically the better of the two films in terms of subjectivity, and nostalgia and personal preference. I had to give the edge to Stripes.
Oh, I forgot to say a little bit of trivia. The submarine in Das Boot is the same one in Indiana Jones 1.
Oh yeah, Oh yeah. I was gonna say Joe Flaherty, as one of the border guards, like small role but memorable. He was also in SCTV, Second City Television, with Harold Ramis. So he was like, that's like, if you like, where he kind of like started and then broke into films. He's also the one in Happy Gilmore, the one who goes, jackass. He also has, like, he was on Freaks and Geeks. He played the father on Freaks and Geeks, and he had one of the best lines, one of the best comebacks to his children. Like, one of his children, the characters, called him a prude. Basically called his character a prude. And Flaherty's character's response to that was, "If I were a prude, neither of you would exist." So it's like one of the best responses to being called a prude by his children. Ramis, Candy, Thomas Flaherty. I don't think Rick Moranis would have been close to being it because he was still like really like more like doing SCTV and stuff, and then he was when did Strange Brew come out? The Strange Brew was based on the skits that he and Dave Thomas would do in SCTV. It wasn't too long after Stripes came out, I think. It wasn't too long, not that long after Stripes came out. Yeah, Strange Brew, 83. Okay, I knew it was only about like a year or two or so. But that's like where that's more of the movie that like Rick Moranis worked in. I think he could have worked in Stripes, but I think Stripes works as it was with these actors. So, but Strange Brew. Have you seen Strange Brew, Steve?
No. Well, that doesn't have to be that bad. I mean, Clash of the Titans worse, right?
Yeah. Take off your hoser. As Max von Sydow in it. The plot is very much inspired by Hamlet in an odd way. It is and I love it, but I will say it's an acquired taste. I'm not freaking Catherine O'Hara. I'm just saying, like, I'm talking about the ones in SCTV that were in Stripes and stuff, because she was SCTV too, along with Eugene Levy. I believe he was in SCTV. Because I think he did a segment where he was parodying Ricardo Montalban's character in Fantasy Island. It's like objectively, it's not necessarily a good movie, but it's funny as fuck, in my opinion. But yeah, Catherine O'Hara was also SCTV. A lot of people I think would be surprised because I don't think too many people know about SCTV because they're more used to SNL. But I think SCTV, Second City Television, was funnier than SNL.
We never had any of them up here.
Yeah,
actually.
We had Martin Short, because there was like one of the skits was celebrity boxing, and it was Julia Child versus Mr. Rogers, and Martin Short was Mr. Rogers. And I love it. Harold Ramis was like a classic in that. But yeah, I preferred SCTV over SNL. I still do. But anyway, so that is our top 10. That's our top 10 for 1981. I think you'd like the celebrity boxing thing with Mr. Rogers, Trey, because at one point he takes one of the puppets and like starts whacking Julia Child with it, or the person playing Julia Child with it. Because like you remember the puppets from Mr. Rogers. I just found it funny. And there's like John Candy does a parody of Rocky in SCTV. I love Mad TV, but I give the edge to SCTV. And John Candy did a parody of Rocky. Don't want to go into that because I don't want to spoil anything, but I think you might like that, Trey, as well. And other shit like that. So, but yeah, that is our top 10 for 1981. And so next week will be the good, the fun, and the weird, where we talk about good shit, fun shit, and weird shit. So before I give my outro, Stig, let everybody know where they can find you and all that fun stuff.
Well, you just said it. Next week, the good, the weird, and the thing. Next week.
Good, the fun, and the weird. It's a play on the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, I just forget the word. I keep thinking there should be a bad in there because I've said the good, the bad, and the ugly so many times. So
yeah,
as soon as I say the good, bad pops into my head, and I know it's not that.
I know.
Oh, Trey is starting a low next week.
Yeah.
You're going to love it, Trey. Holy crap, you're going to love it.
You're required to like SCTV. Well, I was watching Bob's Burgers episode, and it's like kind of reminds me of the joke in the episode where Teddy's girlfriend says, "I'm Irish. We're required to love hurling," or something like that. It's like but we're legally obligated to like hurling. So it's like that's the joke I think of with that comment. But yeah, I'll be here tomorrow on my kick. Probably playing some more RoboCop Rogue City, getting back into that game. Because Friday afternoon I'm planning on seeing Silent Night. The new action movie from John Woo. Basically, I'd say John Wick meets like pissed off father, like revenge tale sort of situation. Joe Flaherty as the Count in SCTV, Count Floyd. I love it. Anyway, there's my Twitch. I try to be there at least once a week. I stream there Tuesday afternoon.
No, that's not Twitch though. That's the Kick link.
Yeah, I know, but my Twitch
you fucked up, right?
My Twitch, I generally stream there once a week, or try to stream there once a week. Thank you, Terra Crystal, very much. So I will be getting pictures of that dress, at least the first dress I got in the wig. And then when the other dress comes, as long as like the actual shoes, I can get like full pictures, or try to get full pictures of both cosplays for the Ada Wong cosplays. But thank you very much, Terra Crystal. I'm everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Yeah, he's a little tipsy. Give him. Stop hassling him.
No.
But tomorrow I'll be live on my kick, and then I'm trying to reach 300 followers by the end of the year. I'm at 292, so I'm very close. And then Friday, if I go live, it'll be in the evening. Give my thoughts on Silent Night. And then Saturday, most likely no stream at all Saturday, because I don't know what time I'll have, since I'm seeing Godzilla -1 with my siblings in the afternoon. And then Saturday evening, I'm playing a game with them, doing a siblings hangout. So Talk Nerdy will be moved to Sunday. So Steph and I can talk about both Silent Night and Godzilla -1.
I have to address Gravy in the chat. I didn't touch all the Twitch buttons, sir. I touched one pop-up twice.
The hell? Am I back?
Yeah, I thought
StreamYard did that fucking spinning thing.
Yeah, it did it with me as well.
I had to refresh.
Yeah.
So I didn't hear what you said.
I said I was addressing what Gravy said about the Twitch buttons, and I said I only pressed one button, and it was a pop-up. However, I
and you
pressed
ended
it
up
twice.
And I don't know what the fuck you did in the chat. But StreamYard has been minging. Like, I had to refresh because I started getting the buffering thing.
Yeah.
I
thought it was Windows updating or something in the background that screwed it up. Because I've been having.
It's StreamYard. StreamYard has been fucking up recently.
Yeah, it's been on my end. It's been having that the anti-malware thing on Windows starts using up all the memory when I'm using StreamYards. It triggers the anti-malware thing.
No, Fixer, it's StreamYard. StreamYard is screwing up acting up for everyone. like multiple issues. Like like just about everyone. Yeah, has been having issues with StreamYard recently. I don't know what they did to screw shit up, but they did. But yeah, anyway, so that is my schedule for through Sunday, at least. So so rather than a normal gaming stream Sunday evening, it'll be Talk Nerdy, and it should be on my Steph's channel. It should be on Steph's channel if she remembers. Also, hopefully, she remembers to watch the movies. Because, bless her heart, I love her. But I was like, hey, do you want to move the stream to Sunday to give us both a chance to watch these 2 movies so we can talk about them? And her response to me was, what movies? Only the 2 movies that we talked about doing a double feature discussion on for the past 2 Talk Nerdies.
Just do what I did, threaten her.
I'm going to remind her.
That's how I got a wrench on her channel.
Yeah.
I blackmailed her. And then I left once I got the wrench. I haven't been there since.
But anyway, but yeah. Female copy of Called to Duty. Okay. When I get a chance. But yeah, but that was her response to me. So anyway, hopefully she remembers that she should be watching those 2 films this weekend. So anyway, take care, everyone. Gave us Rob Zombie's Dawn. When she said Rob Zombie's Dawn of the Dead, I was like,
what the fuck?
Yes, I'm nice. Anyway, so take care, everyone. Have a good rest of your day or evening, depending on where you are in the world. And we will see you all next week for the good, the fun, and the weird. Take care and peace.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.